Wait, ensure to subscribe, like, and comment on this story. Thank you. The afternoon sun scorched the dusty roads of Crestview, California, as Wade Thornton wiped sweat and grease from his brow. Another long day fixing engines in his small-town garage was winding down when something unusual caught his eye. A dusty red convertible, hissing steam, limped to a halt near the old gas station across the street. Wade squinted. Out stepped a young woman, mid-20s, her long chestnut hair clinging to her face from the heat. She glanced at the broken water pump beside her car with a mix of frustration and helplessness. Despite her modest clothes, something about her radiated quiet elegance, too polished for a place like Crestview. Wade didn't hesitate. Tossing his wrench aside, he crossed the road. "Need a hand?" he asked. Startled, she nodded. "The pump stopped working. I tried everything." Wade knelt, inspected the motor, then stood. "It's fried. Lucky it didn't explode." "I'm heading to a property upstate," she said. "No signal out here. This pump was my only hope." Wade didn't ask questions. He simply walked back to his garage and returned with a cooler of bottled water. "Here, should get you through. I'll fix the pump anyway, no one else will." She stared at him, stunned. "You don't even know me." "You look like you needed help. That's good enough for me." Time passed. She watched him work from a nearby rock, quiet and thoughtful. He never asked for her name, never asked. For payment, just fixed the pump, nodded and turned to leave. "My name is Delilah," she finally said. Wade, he gave a small smile, then walked away. What he didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that Delilah wasn't just a lost traveler. She was someone powerful, someone important, and what she did next would flip his entire life upside down. The next morning, a black SUV idled outside Wade's garage. Its windows were pitch black, its presence unsettling. A suited man stepped out, flanked by none other than Delilah, only now she looked like royalty. "Are you Wade Thornton?" the man asked. "I am. What's this about?" The man extended a hand. "I'm Gregory Lawn. I represent Miss Delilah Marlowe." Wade blinked. "Marlowe, as in—" "Yes," Gregory said. "She owns over 3,000 acres in Napa Valley, and she's here to make you an offer you won't want to refuse." Wade's pulse quickened as Delilah stepped forward, her expression unreadable. "I need someone like you, Wade," she said. "Someone I can trust." He swallowed. "Trust me with what?" Delilah smiled, mysterious, unreadable, and replied, "You're going to work for me, Wade, and it's going to change your life forever." Wade stood silent, jaw tight, hands still stained with oil. The air was thick, not just from the heat, but from the weight of what Delilah had just said. "You're going to work for me," she repeated, her gaze steady. "It's not charity, Wade. I've done my research." "Research," he echoed. Gregory Lawn, the suit, stepped in. "Miss Marlowe is developing a private estate 2 hours north. It's ambitious. She's assembling a team of people with integrity, people who aren't driven by ego or connections, people like you." Wade crossed his arms. "You came all the way out here for a mechanic?" "You're not just a mechanic," Delilah said softly. "You're the only person in this town who didn't ask what I could give you. You helped without expecting anything." He looked at her hard. "What exactly are you building?" Delilah hesitated. Then she pulled out a set of blueprints from a leather folder and unrolled them across the hood of his truck. Wade's eyes scanned the plans. Modern cabins, solar grids, aquaponic, gardens, animal rescue zones. It wasn't just an estate, it was a self-sustaining sanctuary. "This is a private retreat," she explained, "a safe haven for women recovering from trauma, domestic violence, exploitation, abuse. I know what it's like to rebuild from nothing." Wade looked up at her, something softening in his eyes. "And you want me to help build that? I want you to lead it. I need someone who understands how to work with their hands and with their heart. You'd manage the construction, the land, the systems, housing included, full salary, and a fresh start." Wade's throat tightened. A fresh start. The words hit harder than he expected. He glanced down at the blueprint again. Part of him wanted to say no, to shut the door and get back to his simple life. But another part, the restless one, the part that dreamed in silence, was already reaching for the pen Gregory extended. He signed. Delilah smiled, slow and genuine. "You start Monday," she said. "We leave at sunrise." Monday came fast. The SUV climbed winding mountain roads until it reached the Marlowe estate, miles of untouched wilderness, silent and still. But as Wade stepped out, he felt it, a chill, a presence. Delilah's voice broke the quiet. "There's something I didn't mention about this place." Wade turned. "What is it?" She hesitated, her eyes darkening. "Some say the land is haunted." The SUV's engine cut off, leaving a deep stillness in its wake. Wade stepped out and scanned the landscape. The retreat site sat on a plateau overlooking a thick stretch of forest. A wide river curled through the valley below, glinting in the afternoon sun. It was beautiful, untouched, and unsettlingly quiet. Delilah stood beside him, arms crossed as if bracing against something more than just the mountain breeze. "You meant it? What you said back at the shop?" Wade asked. "About this place being haunted?" She didn't look at him when she answered. "This land used to belong to my grandfather. He owned every inch of it, but after my mother died, he shut it off, said it was cursed," said the land. "It takes more than it gives," Wade raised a brow. "And you still chose it for a sanctuary." "Because I don't believe in curses," she said quickly, then added quieter, "At least I didn't used to." As they hiked deeper into the property, Wade noticed remnants of old cabins, weathered structures half-eaten by moss and time. An old swing creaked in the wind. At the edge of a clearing, a crooked wooden post jutted from the earth, etched with a name worn unreadable by years of storms. Delilah stopped walking. "This is where I want the main lodge," she said. Wade nodded, trying to focus on logistics, foundation, water lines, timber, but something tugged at his gut. That presence again, like they were being watched. "You feel that," he murmured. Delilah didn't answer. Later, as dusk settled over the trees, the crew arrived. 6 workers handpicked by Delilah and Gregory, some from halfway across the country. Wade met them all. Claire, a former carpenter from Colorado, Tomas, a quiet electrician who barely spoke, and Ellie, a sharp-eyed woman with a history she didn't talk about. They set up camp nearby, planning to sleep in trailers until the first cabins were ready. Delilah would stay in her grandfather's old house on the edge of the property, a crumbling manor draped in ivy and shadow. That night, as the group gathered for their first dinner around a fire, Ellie asked the question on everyone's mind. "Why? Here," she said. "There are easier places to build a dream." Delilah didn't flinch. "Because this land needs healing too." Wade turned toward the trees. In the flickering light, something moved. He stood abruptly. "Did anyone see that?" The fire crackled. Everyone looked. Nothing, only shadows. "Wait! Ensure to subscribe, like, and comment on this story. Thank you." Delilah's face crumpled. "I do." Wade stepped beside her. "What is it?" She looked down at the locket in her hand. "We have to dig." That night, they returned with shovels and lanterns, guided only by instinct and Delilah's haunting memories. She marked the ground beside the well and began to dig. Inch by inch, the soil gave way. Then the shovel hit something soft. Delilah dropped to her knees and brushed away the dirt. A child's dress, tattered, faded, and beneath it, bones, small and delicate, curled in on themselves. Wade turned away, his heart in his throat. But Delilah didn't move. Tears ran down her cheeks as she whispered, "I found you," but the forest didn't quiet. The wind rose, and when they looked back toward the well, Ellie was gone again. and in her place stood a girl in a white dress, face hidden by tangled black hair. Slowly, she lifted her head and smiled. The girl in the white dress stood barefoot near the well, her skin pale as mist, her smile sharp and sorrowful. The wind howled around her, scattering leaves like ashes. Wade stepped forward instinctively, shielding Delilah and Gregory behind him. "Ellie!" Gregory called out, his voice cracking. But it wasn't Ellie. Delilah stepped toward the girl, her hands trembling. "Lillian," the girl's head tilted. "You remember me?" Delilah whispered, falling to her knees. "My grandfather. He was the last one to see you. He knew what happened. He tried to forget, but I couldn't. I wouldn't." Wade saw the truth settling in Delilah's eyes like dawn light through fog. The girl's expression flickered. Grief, rage, longing. "Is she still out there?" Wade asked softly. "Ellie." Lillian nodded once. Then she looked to the grave they'd unearthed, her eyes clouding. "This place buried you twice," Delilah said. "First in the earth, and then..." In silence, Wade swallowed hard. "What do you want?" Lillian slowly raised her hand and pointed to the box near the well, now sealed shut again. Delilah stepped forward and opened it. Inside, instead of the old bones and dirt, there was now a single, tiny white flower. A memory made physical. "Is this it?" Wade asked. "The debt?" Delilah shook her head. "No, that's the offering. She doesn't want revenge. She wants peace." Delilah took the flower and gently laid it over the bones. The ground trembled, the trees groaned, and with a sound like the exhale of the earth itself, the mist lifted, the well cracked, not violently, but with release, like tension unwinding after centuries. The wooden frame splintered and sank into the earth, taking with it the echo of the curse. When the last of the mist cleared, the girl in the white dress was gone, and Ellie stood in her place, confused but unharmed, blinking up at her father. "Daddy?" she asked. Gregory dropped to his knees and clutched her to his chest, sobbing. Delilah stared at the grave, lips moving in a silent prayer. "Thank you," she whispered. Wade placed a hand on her shoulder. "It's over?" Delilah looked up at him, tears in her eyes. "The land remembers, but it also forgives." Epilogue. Weeks later, a small memorial was placed in the forest clearing. Just beyond the trees, a plaque with a name carved into stone. Lillian Hart, 1903-1911, never forgotten. Delilah stayed behind for a few days after the others left. Wade helped her plant wildflowers along the edge of the trail, bluebells, lavender, and one small white blossom she found still growing near the old well site. When she looked back at Wade, the breeze carried no whispers, only birdsong. The shadows had thinned, the debt had been paid, and the earth at last was quiet. The sun was low, casting long amber fingers through the towering oaks. Delilah sat on the old bench near the clearing, fingers tracing the rough edges of the stone plaque. The flowers she and Wade had planted swayed gently in the breeze. Gregory and Ellie were nearby, laughing as Ellie chased a butterfly. Delilah closed her eyes, breathing in the crisp air, but then a faint sound, almost like a whisper. She opened her eyes, scanning the forest edge. The wind stirred the leaves again, but this time she caught it. A soft voice, barely more than a sigh. "Help me." Her heart skipped. Wade appeared at her side, concern in his eyes. "Did you hear that?" Delilah nodded. "It's her, Lillian, or someone else." Suddenly, the earth beneath the old oak tree nearby shifted, and a soft glow pulsed faintly from the roots. Wade crouched down, brushing away leaves. There, half buried in the soil, was an old rusted locket. Delilah picked it up, opening it carefully. Inside was a faded photograph of a woman, her eyes deep and knowing. "Another story," Delilah whispered. Wade looked up at the darkening sky. "Looks like the forest isn't done with us yet." They exchanged a glance, equal parts fear and curiosity, because sometimes the past isn't finished telling its secrets. Wait, ensure to subscribe, like, and comment on this story. Thank you.